When we multiply matrices, this is what we talked about yesterday, or 2 days ago, excuse me. When you multiply two matrices, just like when you multiply numbers 5 times 6 and 6 times 5, you switch it around, it's exactly the same. With a matrix, it is not the same. So I want to kind of walk you through the first part, and then we're going to turn it around, then I'm going to let you do the second one by yourself. And so let's look at, we're going to go across this direction, and we're going to go down on this one, and you'll see what I mean. This is kind of how I introduced it to you on Tuesday. I'm going to go ahead, let's just verify that this is a possibility. How big is, or what's the dimensions of my first matrix? It's a 2 by 2. What's the dimensions of my second? It's the same. What's important is this. They're the same. What that means is multiplication is okay. If they were not the same, then it is not possible to multiply. Matrices can only be multiplied when the inside dimensions are exactly the same. So all matrices that are the same size, 2 by 2s, 3 by 3s, can be multiplied towards each other in any way, because it's all the same number. But when you get it into different varieties of rows and columns, you don't have the same freedom. Something else to note of interest is that the outer dimensions tell us how big the result is. So my result here is going to be another 2 by 2 matrix. We'll do one a little bit later. If we have enough time, I'll give you one where it's kind of odd. You have a matrix that's so big and another matrix so big, but my answer is nothing near either one of those sizes, because when you combine their outer dimensions, you get something very different. So let's go through the process. And so we're going to do row 1, column 1 first. I need 4 numbers, right? A 2 by 2 has a result of 4 different numbers. So row 1 and column 1. So I'm going to take this, we go across the first one. So we're going to use, in this particular example, we're going to use 3 and 6. And then we're going to use 4 and negative 3. Rows in the first one, columns in the second one. Right, Megan? So the first one is going to be 3 times 4. The first numbers in each row or column multiplied together. Write this down. Plus the product of the other ones. This one's going to be 6, since that's the second number in that row. And the second number in this row would be negative 3. So 6 times negative 3, which is what? Negative 6. So I get 12 plus negative 18, which gives me negative 6. All right? The next one would be, I'm going to, in the same first row, I'm going to go to column 2. So my notation, this notation that we're looking at right here, this is telling me, okay, which parts are we going to use to multiply? The first letter represents the first matrix. The second letter represents the second matrix. And so in this case, I'm using row 1. That would still be the 3 and the 6. But now we're going to go back up to column 2. So if we go down here, you're using this column, not the other column, because we're moving to the second one. So we're going to say 3 times 4, or 2, sorry, plus 6 times what? Good, 8, which is 54. Right? Good. Now I'm going to write the notation up, but I'm going to let you finish the other two. So row 2, column 1, and then row 2, column 2. I'm going to give you about 60 seconds, and I want you to finish and write these out. See what you come up with. Yeah. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to take row 2, which is 7 and 1, negative 1, and we're going to take column 1 again and multiply them together. So it's going to be 7 times 4 plus negative 1 times negative 3, which is equal to what? is equal to 31. Row 2, column 2 is going to do what? Oops. It's going to be 7 times 2 plus negative 1 times 8, which is going to be 14 minus 8, which gives me 6. Now let's talk about my result. I knew that my result was going to be a 2 by 2. It's going to look like this. 2 by 2 has a positions. It's row 1, column 1, row 2, column 2. Sorry, row 1, column 2. This is going to be row 2, column 1. This is going to be row 2, column 2. Now, I don't need to write this out, but this is how we organized ourselves in doing all this multiplication. Let me give you a slight hint, a really useful clue. Organization is king here. If you can't be organized, in a minute I'm going to give you a problem that if you're unorganized, then this is going to be a nightmare. Organizing it, writing it out as you go through it, and then knowing how it all fits back together. The only thing I can do to make this more difficult is just to make it longer. Okay? Nothing changes. So my final result would have been negative 6, 54, 31, and 6. As we said earlier, my final result was going to be a 2 by 2 matrix, and you can see that 2 by 2 matrix there. Any questions about how this works out? I want you to turn around and multiply them backwards. B times A. Go. All right, so let's look at this one. We're done with baby math. Okay? This one's real. That other one's as easy as it gets. But let me tell you this. Shh. Every single one of you knows how to do this. It's exactly the same as before. Instead of multiplying 2 numbers together and adding them up, we do 3. Same exact result. Okay? So close your iPad so they don't distract you. Go ahead, and I want you to multiply this group. This is more realistic what you're going to see. Okay? You will definitely see one of these on tests and quizzes. Okay? 2 by 2s, that's easy. I want you to be able to do something like this so that when you get it, you know that if I gave you a 10 by 10, even though that's an extremely long problem, you know how to do it. The process doesn't matter how big the matrix is. The process is exactly the same. So let me give you some tips. Be organized. Either write it out, little steps, like I've already written it on the board in terms of what it looks like. You've got row 1, column 1, all the way over, the row 3, column 3. So this is what my result is going to look like. It's a 3 by 3 matrix, right? If you look at it, you've got values here. So this says, yes, check. I can multiply it, and my answer is going to be a 3 by 3. So, we already knew that because 2 by 2 was a 2, and so that was a 2 by 2. And so go ahead and multiply it. I want to see what you get. It's okay. So make sure that you are organized. You can see the answer up there. Make sure that you're organized when you do matrices like this. Lots and lots and lots of ways to get messed up. Lots of ways. Okay. If it won't log out, don't worry about it. Okay, so be careful. Let's see. Your homework is here. Make sure that you spend some time. This is reviewing sections 9 or 1.8 and doing a little bit from 1.9.